To survive hardship, you must prepare for hardship.
It's time to bust out your stratagem, boys. There is an art to a pole, just like Sangonomiya's priestess has her art of war. Is Kokomi's value enough to justify her pole? Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, YouTube. It's your Slime King, the Geo Man, and welcome to another video. Today we'll be getting into Kokomi's strengths, weaknesses, her kit as a whole, and her worth as a pole. Let's get straight into her strengths. Kokomi's best strength is her consistent off-field hydro application. Now I'll be comparing her to other units in another video, but to give you guys a better perspective, Kokomi's hydro application is almost 100% uptime. There is only one other character that can achieve that, and that is Sincho.
Now, this is what I call a moment of solitude.
The fact that her hydro application is compared to such a broken character should give you enough of an idea already, but I'll expound on it a bit. Kokomi's jellyfish has a 12-second uptime and a 20-second downtime. However, her burst refreshes its cooldown. Therefore, you would want to run at least 180 ER on her to get that 100% uptime. This will help, especially in freeze teams, so that enemies will not move. Her best advantage over Sincho is that her hydro application does not need normal attacks to proc it. Therefore, she fits into an Ayaka team or Ganyu team almost better than Sincho in some scenarios. And of course, she also frees up Sincho for your Hu Tao team or national teams as well. Another one of her advantages is she enables Xiangling to vape her Pyronado. She also enables some electrocharge teams to work a little comfier. Currently, only Child and Sincho can enable Xiangling better. Kokomi can be slotted into a team if you don't have those units and perform a decent job at it. In Taser teams, she would be replacing Sucrose. While it's not better, the problem with Sucrose Taser teams is that you're not running a healer. And if you are a player that can't play without a healer, then Kokomi suddenly has a distinct advantage. The thing is though, Kokomi doesn't do anything exceptionally well. This is a good pivot to her weaknesses. Kokomi does most of her job well. However, only Sukokomon can she be considered as the best in slot in a team. She doesn't excel in any category, and thus, if you pull her expecting her to replace every hydro unit you use in a team, then you will be sorely disappointed. And then, there's her similarity to Barbara's kit. A level 20 Barbara can mostly do the things that Kokomi does, but a lower investment. Barbara can heal and apply hydro off-field too. Now, Kokomi for the most part does a better job at it than Barbara. However, Kokomi requires more investment to excel than Barbara, and that can be a negative for some people. This is where the stigma comes from. However, it's important to note that the roles and value they bring to a team is at times entirely different. Barbara is purely a support that enables hydro off-field application, while Kokomi is somewhat of a hybrid character that has support and on-field enabling capabilities. Speaking of Kokomi's on-field capability, her damage on-field, while respectable, is obviously not as good as to stack up with other carries. Her damage is simply on par, or at times worse, to characters such as Child or Sucrose when it comes to enabling in teams you slot her in. That is another thing that most people like to point out. Now that we've come to that, this is the perfect place to discuss her kit as a whole. Kokomi's kit at first glance looks like she is an on-field DPS that should be the focal point of your team. While her skill is an off-field jellyfish that applies hydro and also happens to heal, her burst gets almost all the limelight as it is a stance change that gives her huge bonuses based on her healing bonus and HP. Then people look at her inability to crit and a miasma of copium overwhelms you. How can she be a DPS when she can't crit? And that is where most people get it wrong. She was never meant to be the main damage dealer of her team. Hydro by nature is an enabling element. Sure, Child, Sincho, and Mona can do a lot of damage, but they are primarily slotted in as an enabler by applying hydro. And thus Kokomi fulfills the same role. She has steady hydro application that fits quite well. You cast her skill, do your rotations, and then cast her burst to refresh your skill, and normal attack to enable your off-field DPS. That is her role, and her damage while doing that is decent enough because of the fact that she can also heal while doing that. She also has the same role consolidation that Raiden has. The only difference is that Raiden wants her teams to build around her, while most of Kokomi's teams are built to enable someone like Xiangling, Sincho, or Beidou. Ultimately, what Kokomi provides over the other hydro units the most is her overall comfort and stability. That is the main selling point of her kit. But does that make her worth the pull? That is a dilemma, my friends. Her worth as a unit very much depends on what you value in a team. If you value the comfort and stability she brings, or are struggling without healers, then her value shoots up through the roof. If you don't value that, or are just concentrated on mostly damage, or don't use freeze or electric charge teams nearly as much, then your stocks will plummet. It's confusing, isn't it? The answer now becomes the ever famous, it depends. However, I won't end with that. Kokomi is worth the pull if you value healing, off-field hydro application, and overall just a comfier way of playing the game. Kokomi is not worth the pull when you value damage over anything else, and aren't into team building or trying out weird suboptimal teams. The topic of pulling for Kokomi is a fickle thing, my friends, because she is a decent unit that becomes exceptional in some situations and very valuable to a certain subset of people. However, she becomes pretty bad in situations where you expect her to be an overt upgrade to other units. It's hard to see her worth because it's not an increase in damage in most cases. In some cases, it moves the ceilings of teams upward, but in most cases, it is merely a horizontal shift from other units. With the value of primogems so high, I leave that choice up to you. As for me, she is worth my pull simply because I value the team building aspect of the game very much. Feel free to tell me what you think down in the comments below. Do you value Kokomi as a unit? Or would you rather have a more direct upgrade? I'm genuinely curious to know. Or better yet, come at me at twitch.tv/DujimaMan, where I stream Genshin almost every day. This is our parting farewell.
Must learn from my mistakes.